Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, it's great to be able to talk to you guys. After being able to discover you guys, I absolutely loved your guys' sound, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to play you guys on my radio show, and it's great to be able to talk to you guys about everything that's going on in the world of Spirit Healer.
Absolutely, we're excited to be here. Pretty cool. Thanks for having us.
Oh, no problem. So, for those that may not be familiar with the band yet, how did Spirit Healer begin?
We actually started in 2017. Taylor and I both went to the Atlanta Institute of Music, and we were in the drum program, and that was 2015, and then throughout 2015 and 2016, we were playing in some other bands, and then kind of happened that both of those bands weren't exactly working out, and Taylor and I, both being primarily drummers, I had played some guitar and been writing guitar for previous bands as well, and then we got to a point where we just kind of wanted to work together on something, so we decided that, we would give it a shot, and we had a mutual friend named Steven who was interested as well, so we kind of just got down to it and started writing, and then went from there, really.
Oh, that is just so cool. I mean, it's awesome to see, just like going from the drum program and of course being able to be in other bands, but just like finding enough mutual ground to be able to want to start a band together, and then getting this whole culmination of what became to be Spirit Healer.
Yeah, it was actually cool. We had a pretty clear vision of what we wanted our sound to be from the start, so I had been kind of writing solo material for about 6 months, and then, Taylor just kind of off the cuff asked if we wanted to work together on something, and I was like, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm dying to get something going for sure, and then we were fortunate enough that we had enough people around that were willing to kind of jump in and had a similar vision to what they wanted to be a part of as we did, so it ended up actually being a pretty easy process.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. We, because like Shane said, we played together for a year, and he had played drums, so he would send me a part, and I'd kind of, know what he was looking for already. So yeah, it was pretty smooth.
So what was that like for you two? I mean, when you were both working, or both a part of the drum program down there in Atlanta, I mean, what was that like for you, like when you started working on drums? I mean, do you both come up with ideas of what your work in Spirit Healer?
It usually just kind of starts, the songs usually start with, as most bands do, like a guitar riff, or maybe I write out like a MIDI idea of some sort, and then I usually kind of have a skeletal idea for a song. Like I may work out the first minute and a half of something, and then I'll kind of send it to everyone to see if, the general vibe that I've set up is something that we want to pursue, and then I kind of just program out parts that I feel fit the vibe. So usually it's like, okay, this part would be, a closed hi-hat section, or this part might be, something kind of tribal on the toms, and then I just kind of put the kicks where I would play them myself maybe, and then I usually don't spend too much time on it, aside from just like, okay, this is a general drum vibe I want for this part, and then I'll send it to Taylor, and he usually changes the majority of it, or at least makes it his own for sure.
Yeah, some of it I pretty much played verbatim, some of it I'll change slightly, or some, I'll just like totally switch it up or add a part, something like that. So it does kind of depend, but yeah, sometimes it is just totally verbatim off what he sends me if it's just good fit and what I would normally play, which does happen pretty often too.
Oh, and that's so cool to see that too. I mean, when you can be like a multi-instrumentalist like that, and then, able to work together like that, and, just like really having that band connection, and, like whoever is primarily playing each instrument is able to do their own spin on it. I think that's so important.
Yeah, and it helped too, because Taylor and I just kind of hit it off at the start of our drum program at AIM, and so we would practice together just about every day. So we were spending like 8 to 10 hours a day with each other, and we kind of learned how each other played. And then after having spent so much time watching Taylor play the drums, it was a pretty easy transition. And then now we've started writing material for a second album, and it's even easier for me because I can kind of picture what he would play. So now it's kind of morphed from me picturing what I would play to picturing something song that I think Taylor would play, which sometimes maybe it works out, sometimes, you know, maybe I'm totally off, but it's definitely becoming easier and easier, and we're trying to kind of, you know, iron out everything and make the whole process a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, we're getting quicker at it, because we definitely take our time with the stuff. We'll rewrite it a bunch of times, but the process is getting faster and easier for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just so cool. But, you know, before we start talking about the second album, which I definitely would love to talk about, I mean, there's an album that just came out with Hollowform. I mean, how does it feel, you know, like after starting this band to finally have an album like Hollowform out?
Oh man, it's a process. It is it's really rewarding, but also really exhausting. And I'm sure anyone that's put out a full-length album knows. I mean, by the time that people actually hear the songs, I mean, we're very proud of them, and we love those songs. But I mean, they've just been we've heard them so much and played them so much, going from the writing, you know, pre-production to then kind of changing things around, recording, rehearsing, performing, and we've just heard the song so many times that now we're definitely ready to kind of pursue something different. But we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, which is great, because I mean, it was the first time for myself personally that I'd put out a full-length album, and I was expecting, you know, a variety of comments, and we actually haven't received too much negative feedback, which has been pretty amazing.
Yeah, it definitely does feel good, and I've put out music before, but yeah, putting out a full length is definitely something else. It takes a lot of time, and we still have like promotional plans for this, but yeah, we have started the second one, and you know, that's kind of the way it goes. But that one will take also, you know, probably another however long, a while. So it'll be the same way. By the time that one comes out, we'll have listened to those so many times, and it's just like kind of like how we like to do it.
Yeah, and then album 3 will just be on your minds as soon as album 2 is ready to be able to heard by the public.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. Yeah.
Oh, totally. But yeah, you know, with Hollowform, I mean, I love the fact that it does. You know, with Hollowform, I do love that it is a concept album, and it does have like a full story between all the songs. I mean, it's so intriguing to listen to, because all the songs do mesh together so well musically. It's great to see that lyrically and conceptually it is all together in this great fine piece.
Yeah, that's something that we definitely take pride in, for sure. I mean, myself, I'm a big believer in trying to set a vibe for a record and then kind of have that be consistent throughout. And a lot of my favorite albums kind of have that, where there's a very consistent vibe, but every song doesn't sound the same, but you can still hear exactly what they were going for with each individual piece, but still fitting an entire kind of portrait of something. So that was, from the start, I knew that was something that we were aiming for, and it you know, I'm proud of the way that it turned out. It definitely wasn't easy. I mean, we wrote a lot of material for that album and scrapped a lot, and a lot of those songs definitely didn't start out. The first renditions of those songs might not have been anything like what they ended up on the album. So a lot of thought and listening and then reworking went into some of those songs. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it translates well and that you feel like it's, you know, a solid piece of work. So that's great.
Yeah, we definitely like the concept album thing. It adds to the flow, and all that. So we knew we wanted to do that, and like, we don't necessarily, like, when Shane writes a riff, he's not writing for a part, but we have, you know, a bunch of songs, and we have like a track list, which is the chapters of the concepts, and kind of try and pair the song with the vibe of that chapter, excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of how we found the flow of it, I guess, as far as the story goes.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm glad to see that it did turn out that way as well, too. I mean, having that idea and concept in mind, but, you know, just like writing the riffs and, you know, just seeing what flowed together, and, you know, just between all the songs, the amazing vocals that are on top of it, and, of course, what everyone has been able to contribute to it musically. I mean, it turned out to be such a great album, and, you know, it's just when you're able to make a debut album like this that can really explode the way that I've seen it, like you said, I did not see many negative comments about Spirit Healer at all so far, and it's just great to see the way that it has attracted so many people, including myself. I mean, this was brand new to me. I had no idea about this band, and then just discovering them, just like, wow, I love what's going on here.
That's great. Yeah.
I'm sure the negative comments will come as they do. But yeah, it is really awesome to see that people generally have been digging it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess to speak to it being a debut release, I mean, technically, yes, it is for this group, but I mean, we've all been grinding in other groups. I mean, I know that the majority of us have been in bands since we were, like preteens and have always been playing. And so this album is definitely a culmination of all of us trying to strive to be something that we feel like is exactly the vibe and the fit for our personalities. And I've put out plenty of EPs and things with previous bands that you're really into it, and then you put it out and you kind of listen back and it's like, man, I mean, I see what I was going for, but maybe this is too on the nose, or this sounds too much like this band. And with this, I feel like we were able to kind of off the bat find a sound that is accessible to most people but still unique to us.
Yeah, and that is so important too. And it's when you have been in previous bands before, you start to get that experience and knowledge of what to do in a band. And either when things fall apart, or you just decide to leave a band. I mean, there's so many different reasons that bands that you're in become previous bands, and whatever the case is. But everything that you've been able to bring into Spirit Healer and that knowledge, I mean, it's great to see where you guys are at right now. And just like having this killer album, and being able to play shows behind it now, and then of course focusing now on what will be the second album, which I'm sure will be even grander than what I hear with Hollowform.
Yeah. I mean, we've got. I guess I'll go ahead and kind of mention some things about album 2. I actually started writing album 2 just about the second we finished recording Hollowform. I mean, you're always kind of writing, throughout everything you're playing and noodling and putting down ideas, but this album definitely I've been trying to push us in a more, it sounds cliche, so many bands say this, but in a more cinematic route, which was the intent of Hollowform too. We wanted something that felt like you were immersed in some kind of universe from start to finish, and there was a definite flow, and you could kind of lose yourself in the music. And we're trying to do that even more with this second album, but also kind of trying to Hollowform is a very certain songs are very guitar driven, and while I may be a guitar player in the band, it's not something I'm always looking to do with the music. And there are lots of bands that I'm really inspired by that have actually taken guitar and kind of put it as like on the back burner. And that's something I'm working with this new album, is trying to accentuate different parts of our band that maybe it's not super riff heavy. I'm trying to create some kind of cinematic universe that might not sound like other metal, so to speak.
I mean, just hearing that from the fan perspective, I mean, that just sounds incredible, just like being able to do what you've done with Hollowform, and just make more of that cinematic, that atmospheric kind of feeling, and just like trying to make it feel like a great soundscape rather than just like a riff orientated, or just showing off everybody's chops. I mean, I think that's so much more important to be able to focus on the songs rather than the individual parts.
Right, yeah, and I'll say one more thing on that too, which I'm sure Taylor is tired of hearing me say this, but I mean, growing up being a drummer, I picked up guitar because I wanted to be able to write songs. I think of myself as more of a songwriter and kind of someone who just wants to tell a story than a guitar player. I mean, there are great guitar players. I don't even see myself as someone that plays guitar. I mean, I play guitar in this band, but I honestly can't tell you anything about what I'm playing. I can't tell you what notes I'm playing, what key I'm in. It's all by ear. So with this second album, I'm kind of trying to lean more into using other instruments as the primary way to write the music. So whether I'm using piano or some kind of synth, or maybe I write a bass part first, or it's a drum idea, I'm kind of just trying to approach the songwriting process a little bit differently. So it's not, I don't want to repeat Hollowform, but I want to take things that I feel like we did successfully from Hollowform and kind of expand on that.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask about that too. Obviously with being in previous bands, being able to go to music school, I mean, there's so many things that you guys have been able to do to become the musicians that you are today. But what have you learned from the experience of Hollowform that you do want to take into the second album?
Oh, man. I mean, like I said, I think parts of the writing process we did really well, as far as like the story, and we're trying to build off that and an atmospheric vibe. So that's definitely the main thing. But like Shane said, we do want it to be its own thing as well. well. And we have a new singer now, so there will be that element. So yeah, there will be moving pieces. It will definitely be Spirit Healer. And we'll, like I said, carry over the main themes, I guess. And we're continuing on as far as the story goes. It'll be in the same universe, all that good stuff. But yeah, it'll definitely be its own thing.
Oh, very cool. So, also with that in mind, I mean, of course, being able to write and record the songs on the album is one important aspect of being in the band. But what about when it comes into the live setting? How does it feel to be able to play shows as Spirit Healer?
It's great. I mean, it's pretty surreal because I mean, I've played plenty of gigs on drums, but this was the first time I was able to stand up and play guitar on stage, which is a pretty cool thing. It's very different than anything I've ever experienced as far as a live setting goes. But I mean, to be totally honest, when we started Spirit Healer, I mean, I was just writing things in my basement in my little studio with just the intent of, honestly, it was going to originally be a totally anonymous band. That was my first plan, is that I had so many projects fall apart. I was like, I'm just going to try to do something that's not attached to my name. And then we started writing music, and then Taylor and I and Steven all three of us kind of decided that, well, I mean, we really love this, and I think we'd like to put our names on this. We don't want to be an anonymous band. So I had no idea that we would even really be able to do this. I mean, I had never performed guitar on stage. I thought, I'm going to take it a day at a time. I'll write these riffs, we'll write these songs, and then, got to learn them and be able to perform them. But now, I mean, we've played them so much. We actually had rehearsal yesterday, and I mean, we've played them so much that now it's just like second nature. You don't have to think about it. So and it just takes us so long too. I mean, we are super particular. I mean, you will never meet a more opinionated group than the five of us, but somehow we make it work, and usually we all see eye to eye on most things, and if we don't, we find a way to make it work. But yeah, I mean, it's been great that we can stand up and do this now, and it's been a long process, but I think we kind of like the whole taking our time with it for sure. So
yeah, and the songs are just fun too to play. They're a lot of fun, and even in a 30-minute set, you get to play like so many different things. It's not in some other bands where you play the same kind of grooves over and over again. It's definitely, it keeps you on your toes. It's fun.
Oh, it definitely sounds like it would be for sure. And yeah, I wanted to mention that part about things falling apart in bands. I mean, that's totally what's happened in my experience as well. Like, I think I've had something like 15 bands, either be it cover bands or original bands or something like that have always just fallen apart, especially right before things were going to get bigger, right before we were going to actually release our first album and stuff like that. So, I mean, those trials and tribulations of just being able to find the right musicians that gel together long enough to be able to release our first album, I mean, that's just admiration in and of itself. But when you're able to move forward and continue on with that endeavor, I find that just so admirable to be able to pull that off, because it can be so hard to be able to do that. And I'm glad to see that's what happened with Spirit Healer as well. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, there's a new singer in the band now. So, of course, there has been some changes, but I'm glad to see everything is going in the right direction, being able to play live shows, focusing on the next album. Because, yeah, those trials and tribulations can really make it hard for a musician wanting to go forward, but I'm glad to see that it is working for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that what benefited us the most really is that we were all friends before we were in the band. So Steven and I have been friends since we were in middle school. We went to college together, lived together for 4 years. Taylor and I met each other at AIM, and we spent a lot of time together there, and Evan's my brother. So it's like we all had different relationships that it wasn't like there was one person kind of headhunting to fit all these roles. We all adapted to kind of to make it work. I mean, Evan, my brother, he grew up playing drums as well, and then he pretty much decided to adopt playing bass to fit into Spirit Healer. So I mean, he busted ass, and he made it happen, and now he's an excellent member of the band, plays super tight. That worked out great. I mean, yeah, and like you were saying, we've definitely had our fair share of hiccups, but it just makes it easier when everyone is primarily a friend, and then we do this because we enjoy it. It's not like there's an ego involved or anything. I mean, yeah, it just kind of worked out perfect.
And that is what it comes down to. All of us, I think, on our own could write good music, but there's so much that goes along with it, and there will be hiccups no matter what band you're in. So yeah, it's definitely like who you work with, just finding a group that you can get through all that stuff and put something out that you're proud of, then usually it ends up being better anyways because of that.
Yeah, and we all have, we all kind of share roles too. It's not like, Taylor just plays drums or Steven just plays guitar. We all kind of mix and match, and we definitely don't hide our opinions on certain things. So, no one's harboring any kind of resentment during the writing process. We're all really open and tell each other what we do like, what we don't like. And yeah, it's pretty obvious if someone's upset with something, and we can deal with it. But yeah, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I love to hear as well too. I mean, and that's why I imagine the second album is even going to sound grander. I mean, just outside of the musical aspect, I mean, the band gets tighter. You start to know more about what direction you want everything to go in. All the behind the scene things. I mean, if you can make it through that first album, all the positive aspects that can go into making the second album. And again, that is such a great thing to see, and I'm glad to see that you guys are doing that, and just really building the name out there. I mean, it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, we're that's the hardest thing, man, is building the name. It's exactly that. I mean, we've dumped so much time and effort into this. We're really happy with the reception of the album, but I mean, it's hard to kind of keep everybody, keep steam going out on the internet and things like that. So we're just doing the best that we can to keep playing shows and putting out content. I think here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to shoot a video with our friend Zach, who did our video for
Memory of the Ritual.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, totally blanket. And we're going to do kind of like an audio tree style video. So, now that we have Gabe, we kind of want people to hear his voice and hear his take on, a few of the songs. So I think we're going to shoot some live playthroughs here and try to get those out, which we're pretty excited about doing as well.
Yeah, but yeah, even if you have a good product now, the internet is just so big, it's slow, no matter what, and people forget, so you just got to constantly be put it out there. So it has been good, but yeah, it's definitely just a grind, as you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the one thing a lot of people, especially in today's age, that may not realize is like how important it is to be able to get your name out there, but how hard it can be as well, because there's so much music that is available for people to check out now. And with the internet, I mean, there's so many different things that are just like popping up in front of you that you may just even forget about a band because like everything else is just like popping up on there, or it's just like the analytics of being able to like show off like a brand new video or something like that. And if you use the wrong link that Facebook doesn't like, for example, then it's not going to be seen as much. And it's just like it can be such a grind. But when you finally do hit like that one promotion or that one website or that one big name on social media that garners your interest and people start to really become interested in what you do, I can just imagine that is a great feeling. It's like, wow, people are finally being able to check us out.
Yeah, that was all really, really, really cool. I mean, I think we had the album out for a few weeks, and I was scrolling Reddit, and then it was really weird to see people posting our music on subreddits that I'm subscribed to, and then this is me. This is pretty cool. And then we had a handful of websites like Gear Gods and a few other places reach out to us, and some people wrote some really awesome reviews, and some that were totally what we wanted people to take away from the album. And that was really cool to see someone write out something that was exactly what I had hoped the ideal reception to that album would be. So yeah, it's been cool to finally put something out there and have people get to hear it and react to it. It's all been great.
Yeah, and it is so great to see that too. I mean, when you have big names like that, when you have fans that are or future fans that are coming to see a show who may not be familiar with Spirit Healer, and you're able to win them over in that live setting. I mean, there's so many different ways to be able to garner that attention now. Sometimes it's just like one person a day or one person a week or something like that. And other times it could just be a huge explosion of people that are checking you out for the first time. And, no matter how small, no matter how big it gets, I'm glad to see that it's a continual rise for you guys. And I just can't wait to see what's going to be happening with you guys in the future, because I definitely hope and I definitely see you guys just keep getting bigger and better from here on out.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the hope. I mean, we hope that we can keep grinding it out and keep doing what we love and putting out quality material.
Oh, awesome. Well, right there, I think that's an amazing note to end on. And thank you guys so very much for talking to me about everything going on in the world of Spirit Healer, from like the origins of the band to the cinematic universe that's being built right now, and of course a Hollowform available now, and then everything to look forward to in the future as well. I mean, it seems like there's so many great things that are going on in Spirit Healer, and now is the perfect time to get into the band when it's a transitional phase, between vocals, between the next album, and everything going forward in the future. And I really appreciate you guys taking this time to be able to talk to me about all of it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. It was great.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
You can see all of our stuff on our website, spirithealerband.com, and our socials. We have YouTube, Facebook, Insta. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.